This isn't revision, it's restoration. This is blackwashed history. We carry the names, the songs, the truths they tried to erase, telling it like it really was, and still is. Where echoes of the past rise up with power, and every story we uncover is a step towards justice. So lean in, let the ancestors speak, and let the truth be heard. Only here on Blackwashed History.
He said, "I am not your Negro." Well, whose Negro are you? James Baldwin, when he said, "I am not your Negro," it was not a plea. It was a refusal. But here's the thing. Refusal does not dismantle a system. When I watched I Am Not Your Negro documentary, I wasn't studying Baldwin the writer. I was confronting Baldwin the analyst of power. He understood something many still avoid or have yet to come to terms with. Racism in America is not regional. It is not simply cultural. It is structural. And structures do not disappear because language changes. Baldwin left the United States for Europe. He did this in part to escape racism and homophobia. But he returned, not because America had healed, but because geography was never the issue. The struggle was never about proximity. It was about power. We can change our locations, but can we truly outrun a system that defines you? Baldwin had an unfinished manuscript titled "Remember This House," and it centered around these three men you may know: Medgar Evers, Malcolm X, and Martin Luther King Jr. Three leaders, three philosophies, three unfortunate assassinations. Different strategies to advance Black America. Legal reform, that militant self-determination, and the moral nonviolence. Different approaches, same resistance. The pattern is the point. We often are taught to treat history as something behind us. We celebrate those anniversaries, the tributes, the ceremonies. But history is not the past. It is present, carried forward. The policies shift. The language evolves. The optics improve. Yet that core tension between Black identity and American power persists. America updates its vocabulary faster than it updates its structure. The word Negro may no longer dominate headlines. But you see, there are still systems of containment, surveillance, economic marginalization, and the narrative control has not vanished. It just refines itself. They speak now in kind of bureaucratic language. It operates through funding decisions, curriculum battles, zoning laws, digital algorithms. Here's a question. Does racism look the same today as it did in 1963? Do you feel it looks the same? See, this question is whether the architecture that required a racial underclass to stabilize power has been dismantled, or has it simply been rebranded? When James Baldwin said, "I'm not your Negro," he rejected this imposed identity, one constructed to preserve a hierarchy. But refusal does not automatically dissolve the need of a system. Systems built on hierarchy rarely surrender it voluntarily. Black progress in America has always expanded or contracted or reverted back based on the moral temperature of the nation. You know, we had Reconstruction that advanced, but then you see things that get rolled back. Civil rights legislation passed, and what do you see? Mass incarceration surges. Representation increases, but economic gaps widen or get hardened. The faces change. The rhetoric shifts. The struggle mutates, but the tension remains. Baldwin's manuscript was left unfinished. And many treat this as a literary tragedy. I see something else. Maybe the manuscript remains unfinished because the conditions he documented were never resolved. The assassinations he talked about were not isolated events. They were systems and symptoms of structural resistance to redistribution of power. The work of Black America is never finished. It is continued. From the courtrooms to classrooms, from marches to boardrooms, from speeches to policy rooms. The actors change, the negotiation over dignity and power, it persists. It is not cynicism. What this is clarity. We celebrate progress as it is permanent, but progress in America has always been conditional, tolerated so long as it does not fundamentally redistribute power. So when you think about James Baldwin and his writings were not simply meant to soothe. He really truly was writing to expose. And that's why his documentary, at least to me, does not feel historical. It feels immediate. Like the unfinished manuscript is not a literary artifact. It truly is a mirror. And we have inherited the draft. And the question is not whether Baldwin was right. The question is whether America ever intended to prove him wrong. Until the structure changes, not just the vocabulary, the manuscript remains open and history continues to be written in the present tense.
Another chapter unveiled. This is Blackwashed History, not just stories of the past, but mirrors for the now. If this moved you, share it with someone who needs to learn and remember their history. Until next time, stay bold, stay rooted, and never stop listening for the voices beneath the silence.